So I actually started on that, and I have no sup experience.
Oh, you were supping?
Sup.
With a foil?
Well, no, I wasn't sup foiling. I was just falling, right?
Okay.
But there was a foil.
There was a foil on it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the X-Foils. I'm Dylan, your host.
Hello, I'm Walt, your co-host.
You're just another guest.
Damn.
And then we got Roy here. What's your last name?
Young,
You
special, special appearance. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's good to have you. You're part of the crew, and you've been mentioned on almost every single podcast to date. So it's been a build-up. So let's hope this is a good one.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure out the gate here.
It's a lot of pressure.
You got to build up the pressure just a little bit. I have no other background.
We all
everybody else that's been in here, I've had a little bit more background into like what they've done and what they've come from.
We've all had the interaction with Roy in the water, right? Like where you're out and you're on a tow session or you're proning and you see this kind of Brad Pitt looking motherfucker come flying by, really showing you what's up. So, I think we all have seen you around, and obviously you're part of the crew, and we've gotten to know each other better through downwinding. But I think the journey is really interesting, how we all come to it. And I assume you're more from the surf background, right?
Well, yes, but I think I'm just going to start here in Puerto Rico because I started surfing with Sean, and if you guys don't know Sean, you should. He was on the show. He's an amputee and just an all-around badass, right? Like, wow, that dude just charges. So I started here with him, and he kind of took me under my wing and took me from like a Florida weekend warrior kind of surfer to almost mediocre, but like sending it on, proper days. So that's how I started there. And
so was he your coach? Was it like
No.
you took lessons or you met him as a friend?
No, we were, drinking buddies and we just hung out, we were just thick as thieves at first,
Yeah.
and then we started foiling, but I didn't start foiling until, one of our legendary shapers here on the island, Randy, introduced me to it,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it was like I was deer in the headlights, and he was so pumped up. You know when Randy's pumped up?
Randy's always pumped up.
Yeah, but he was exceptionally pumped up, and I didn't know what a foil was, and I was at Goodwin's, and he's like, here, let me tow you and your brother around. My brother was visiting, and I'm like, okay, this seems very foreign. Let's do it. So you know what that looks like,
Yeah.
Day one. You're just getting yanked out of the water. It's kind of like whales jumping,
Yeah, exactly.
Randy started pulling me around on the jet ski, and the minute you get up, even though like you're tacoing and your back is doing the weirdest shit, if you invest time and energy into this contraption, it's gonna pay off.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started my foiling.
How long have you been in Puerto Rico?
I've been here for 7 years, and I've been foiling for maybe 4. Maybe I'm rounding up a little bit, but it's close.
So you start the journey, behind the jet ski. Did you quickly move to a prone board and start surf foiling, or did you just keep getting hucked into stuff by Randy?
Yeah, here's what's interesting. So, when you hang out with these guys that own these surf shops, they sell you shit that you really don't need, right?
Oh, dude, tell me about it, right?
And so listen, so he tows me up, kind of. I don't know what I'm doing. Phil gets a hold of me, right? Phil from Goodwin's, love Phil. And he's like, I got the perfect setup for you. So he puts me on a 6'6", 130-liter Fanatic sup board that's probably like 6 foot wide too, right? Like picture
Just a giant square.
Picture this coffee table just bigger, it's just huge. And so I actually started on that, and I have no sup experience.
Oh, you were supping?
Sup.
With a foil?
Well, no, I wasn't sup foiling. I was just falling, right?
Okay.
But there was a foil.
There was a foil
There
on
was
it.
a
So this is
foil
pretty full
attached.
circle, right? Like back
It
to
is.
downwinding.
Damn.
You didn't know.
Yeah, it's totally full circle. I mean, I failed sup foiling right out of the gate, like immediately.
Again, preparing you for downwinding.
I was like, this is impossible, you know? And Phil's like, no, it's okay. You can. So I bought some worse shit from him, you know? And then I started proning. I started proning over there at Go U with Randy and Sean and Andy. And we were all new. And we were all just so stoked, like out there all the damn time, you know? Like not quitting, just getting after it.
What a great spot.
Spot's ridiculous.
Amazing.
Man. So, anyways, so that was the start.
If you don't
A lot
want
of hype, lot of hype in the spot up.
No, if you don't want to ruin your foil and paddle out for half an hour, other than that, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
that's
Except
it,
for the
that's
half a mile paddle out
that's true.
over reef.
That's
it's
true.
great. It's a really great spot.
It is a good
I love,
spot.
I love that we all forget that.
Yeah, the paddle out so far, especially on days where it's like mediocre, you know, you're looking out there and you're like, oh, you're like,
Yeah.
shh. All right, let's do it.
Do I want to get wet today? Or,
Yeah, you don't want to get wet.
Yeah.
And you got to like crawl through that sea urchin reef and flip the board over and do the thing to get all the way out there, but it's good.
That's good. And so before you came to Puerto Rico, did you have any water sports background? Surfing? You said Florida weekend warrior, but you're from Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
So not much
Exactly.
surfing in Texas.
They really like to drive in Texas.
Yeah. We do a lot of driving. No, so when I was in Texas, you know, I took a couple surf trips, one to Costa Rica with my buddies, and we stayed over there for like a month. We did that's all we did was surfing.
Month?
Yeah.
Damn.
So that was pretty good. That was a pretty good head start for me. And prior to that, I had surfed a little bit in Florida. And then I moved to Florida for a year and kind of surfed over there. But when I say surfing, like take that with a grain of salt, you know, because at the time I was on the Tampa side, on the Bay side.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what that looks like. It's like
Ankle biters in a 9-foot log.
not good.
Not good.
So yeah, so a little bit over there, and then I went out and got a real job, and then I was in Miami for a year or two. So I did a little bit over there too when the conditions allowed me, you know. But like seriously,
there's no
like
surfing over there.
no, there's not. So I'm not trying to hype it up like I've been a waterman for like ever. No, okay. Weekend warrior level, total kook fest until I got here to Puerto Rico and started like putting time into the water dojo. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now I'm starting to get a picture.
Yeah.
So dojo. So what was the background before foiling then, right? Like obviously you've had an athletic background to get you to where you are today. Like what was the thing that you did when you were younger that was so impactful?
So I was, I'm going to circle this all the way around, you'll see. So I was vegan for like 6 years, right? Like skinning, like so skinny, right? 130 pounds, like you wouldn't recognize me. I'll show you a picture, right?
And I remember a passionate vegan at that.
Oh, passionate. Don't you dare eat a pizza in front of me. Like, I'd rip you a new one, probably throw a vegan book at you or something, you know?
I did see that Dreddy photo recently. So.
Yeah. And so, you know, I was doing my thing, eating my vegetables and whatnot. And I'm not going to say to each their own, because straight up, I did that for a long time. And I personally lost so much muscle mass, and I did it right. And I worked at health food stores, all this crap, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I was still the same dude. I was still spicy and a shit talker, right? So here's this 130-pound vegan talking shit on his BMX bike, right? Because that's what I did back then, BMX, doing all this shit. And here's this grown-ass man. You know, he wants to get into a fight with me, okay? Because I'm running my mouth, but I do. And I get close, you know, but I'm so small, and I'm looking at this dude, and I'm going, man, that dude totally stomped me, right? Like, he's going to crush me. And so I went back to the drawing board that day, and, and I asked my buddy Tate, which Tate's just, like, Tate's a crazy skateboarder friend of mine that we grew up together. He's the kind of skater guy that you would get hammered with you and then just for show, break a beer bottle on his head, you know? Like, great influence, so much fun. And so I'm like, Tate, man, Tate, that guy probably could have whooped my ass. He's like, yeah, he totally could have. You got to get with Brad. I'm like, who's Brad? And he's like, you'll see. I'll introduce you to Brad. I meet Brad, right? Brad looks at me and he's like, look, dude. He goes, you got to get in the dojo. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dojo? What is this? Like, what are we talking about here? He's like, look, dude, get in the dojo, okay? You're going to do jujitsu, and that's what you're going to do. And I'm not going to explain that much about it. You know, there's these guys on the ground. It's so foreign to me, and they're locked up, you know, like in the weirdest positions. And they're not moving very fast, and they're kind of just like, and they're just like torquing each other, and people's hair's getting all messed up. And then for some stupid ass reason, I signed up. I don't know why, right? Because after seeing that, you should just leave, you know? You're like, oh, I'm not really into this wrestling thing that you guys are doing. So I signed up, and I stuck with that for like 4 years. And, you know, it really taught me how rewarding it is to get involved in something that looks so weird and is so uncomfortable and gassing while you're a beginner. I mean, just exhausting, same as downwind foiling. It just takes it out of you, and it's worse when you're learning because you make all of the wrong decisions and it just gasses you out. So it just taught me to commit into getting into a very uncomfortable discipline, which is why when I started downwinding, I'm like, oh, this shit's right in my wheelhouse. I'm scared. I'm exhausted. I'm lost. This is perfect. I'll just
So
keep
it's a
doing
lot
it.
of cardio, the jiu-jitsu.
It's the exact same as downwind foil. You can make it as hard as you want to, and the worse you are at it, most of the time, the harder it is, because you're going to make a lot of bad decisions.
Because you're just forcing yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you
it's
just
just
force
like,
yourself into things, and you're trying to push, and just nothing's happening, or you're rolling around.
totally, and it's kind of like it's like reading the bumps. It's the same thing in a sense. You'd be surprised. Like somebody moves their arm just a little bit, and you stick your thumb under here, and you pull them over, and you have so much leverage depending on these little micro adjustments. And you don't know that as a beginner. So you do these boneheaded mistakes, just like when we're out there downwind foiling. You know, you're like, I'm just going to eat that bump, and you get in front of it, and it's worthless, and you're just like gassing out, when really you should have just looked around and maybe peeled right or left and, you know, just made better decisions. That's how the two connect.
Make better decisions.
Yeah.
Story of Roy's life. Make better decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a problem with when you're, well, I don't know jiu-jitsu, but with downwinding, if you have like a really good cardio or you're, I don't know, you must have made those decisions, bad decisions 100 times. And you just go and go and go and go until you
Oh, I'm still making those bad decisions.
I
Yeah,
do too.
because
We all do.
Yeah, sometimes I do it. I just keep on pumping and pumping and pumping, and my heart rate's at 195. And then until I feel like I'm going to pass out, I'm like, maybe I should relax a second. And I'm like, oh, I could have done that the whole time instead of chasing after Roy.
It's okay, because every once in a while I can kind of get a glimpse of you, but you're like 14 miles offshore, you know? I'm like, he's fucked. Like, he's so far out that he doesn't have a chance.
It's true. Yeah, we go way out there. So you started prone foiling with Sean, Andy, Randy.
Yep.
And I mean, you were a decent surfer. You had no idea of how to foil except for being pulled behind the jet ski. Did you e-foil at that point, or what helped you excel, you know, on your foil, except for having that 1.5 seconds when you're up on foil on a wave? Like learning how to foil on a prone foil, like surfing is, I mean, it's
Sounds very
extremely
hard.
difficult, right? So,
It is.
I mean, what
You know.
I know. I'm asking you. I've got all
You're the
the
guest.
I've got all the answers.
Okay, all right.
No. I mean, I have a kite foil background, right? You never kited. You don't
No.
know. You don't know how to dangle,
No, there's too many strings.
Yeah.
I don't do it.
right? So you never did the kite thing. So I had a lot of time on the foil. Did you learn strictly on the wave, or did you try to accelerate and do jet ski stuff or do e-foiling, or what did you do to get yourself into the waves and progress on a foil?
Well, remember, I went from an attempted toe up, one,
That's it?
yes, to sup failure to prone. So, I didn't want to spend the money, to get towed around. So I just went right to prone. And so you know what that looks like. I'm just basically crawling on my board, doing the best I can, kicking and fighting, and then popping up and letting the foil do what it's going to do until I chain that slippery monkey down.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
That's that.
so what was the first setup you were on when you were learning?
So the first setup I was on, I had on my sup board, I had a giant axis. I don't remember what it was. Oh no, it's like a 14, that's something. Just picture something big,
Real
right? Big. And that thing, you know what that feels like. It's wild, just gonna buck you off, And so Phil actually had this Delta foil sitting in his shop. And it was smaller, it just looked surfier. I don't remember the size. And I just looked at it, it was hanging up and collecting dust, and I said, let me try that. So I put it on, I put it on this board, and I tried it, and when I popped up, it felt a whole lot more comfortable, versus like so much lift of that giant axis that I started on. So I played around with that for a while. That got me feeling pretty comfortable on just the pop-up and how the foil responded. And then after that, because of I don't know what reasons, just marketing probably, I bought a Axis 900, and then that's what got me really excited. Because then that first day you double dip, you lose your mind, and so that's what I did on that, and then that was that.
How long into your progression was that? Like, was that months? Was that a year?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know. I'm a great host.
That's a really good question.
No,
Wow, we're
I'm a
diving.
great host.
We're diving deep. We are diving really, really deep.
Really making you think here in your inflatable chair.
I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer. It could have been a month. It could have been 6 months. I have no freaking clue.
Damn.
I'm not sure. But then you know how it is. After you get that first double dip, then you start 2, 3, and then you know everything about foiling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's all about getting to that skill set where you can get enough flight time to start really progressing, right? Like where you're catching the waves where you want in the wave field, you're able to get on foil, and then to be able to pump out the back. I think that was kind of a challenge for me coming from the kiting and winging. So I was so used to being powered, that feeling of like not having anything to hold on to, right? Like, because you're used to having the kite or the wing, but then also that feeling of coming off the wave and having to keep that momentum and speed up. Like pumping was like wildly hard for me to figure out for some reason. I feel like maybe coming from the surf background, maybe it's just because you force yourself into that position where you have to figure it out, right? Because you're not going to be able to foil unless you do. But I do notice people who come from the proning side, even when they're not that great, I can see them pumping really well, I think, because it puts you in that space where you have to learn that skill set. Whereas when you come from winging and stuff, you kind of learn to like half-ass pump, and honestly, you just build bad habits that you got to work out of the whole time.
Yeah, totally.
It's super annoying.
Oh, I thought you were asking a question. Why'd you put your hand up?
I was just saying that's my journey.
Oh, okay.
It's on camera, all right? I'm trying to be engaged with our viewers out
I
there.
understand. I thought you were like, I have a question, sir.
I always have a question when I'm sitting next to you.
So you learned how to surf it, and you linked your first wave. You're on this 900 axis,
Yep.
whatever it is. You don't even know.
Well, I think they called it a high aspect. I'm not sure what it was.
And then when did you learn how to wing after that?
Have you learned how to wing?
I mean, you don't really
I haven't
wing
actually
anymore,
seen it.
but
I learned how to wing probably a year after I started prone, and Randy and I we were looking at it, so this was probably, I guess this was 3 years ago or so, we're looking at it, and I'm like, shit, man, I mean, all these people are doing it, you know? And you know how it is when you see something weird like that you want to hate it, you know? Like, you're just, like, talking out of your ass about holding that wing and the, you know, whatever, and it's not as pure, whatever kind of stuff comes out of your mouth, it's just garbage, you know? You just don't want to start because you know deep down it's going to be a lot of work to get this thing figured out. So it was probably a year into it, and I start seeing people winging, and I have no wind sports background, so I know this is going to be torture. This is going to be the worst thing ever so far to try to get that thing figured out. So Randy and I learned together, and it was horrific. I have never lost my shit like I did learning to wing. I mean, full-blown temper tantrums, punching, screaming in the water, just losing it. And, you know, I mean, I needed help, you know? And Phil, I would talk to Phil about it, and he would say, hey, you just got to enjoy the process. And so, you know, when he said that, you know, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Namaste, woo-woo.
And you punch him in the face.
I want to do, you know, I would take a couple deep breaths. I get my shit together, and then I go out the next day and lose my shit in the water, you know? I'm like, oh, I have one job, and that's just to enjoy the process. Come on. So,
Yeah.
you know, winging was hard for me mentally. I mean, like I said, I was a basket case. I was really losing it, learning how to wing, and now
But
I'm
you didn't go through that learning how to foil surf, or why? I guess because it's.
I didn't feel that way, and I didn't feel that way about it on the downwind either.
I guess it's different because you're floating at the surf spot. You know, you're in the waves. You've already been a surfer, and then there's kind of this. It's a different headspace for sure. You're either catching a wave or you're not catching a wave.
Yeah.
Right? A wave's coming, you're trying to catch it, or you're not trying to catch it, and then I think it's a totally different suffering. And then you already know how to foil, so you're like, bah,
Yep,
I can
exactly.
do this.
You got it.
Right? And
Yep.
then you add a wing to it, you're on this like Flintstone board, right? And you're trying to learn how to foil with this hand wing that you don't know how to sail, and then it can be pretty frustrating. I think
Extremely.
I just wonder if you didn't know how to foil already, if it would be more frustrating or not, right? Because
okay. I see where you're going. I thought you were
I
saying,
think it would still be very
you're
frustrating.
bullshitting about your background in foiling. You didn't know how to foil.
No, because I knew how to foil, and it took me a while to learn how to wing. And I have a sailing background, and I felt comfortable in the wind, and I thought I knew what I was doing. I'd foiled for years, and it still took me a while to learn, and it was pretty painful. Because so I just wonder if somebody's coming into the sport and they don't know how to foil at all, and they're learning how frustrating it is. Because I've heard that before, that people get way more frustrated when they already know how to foil, learning how to wing, because they're like, I already know how to do this. Like, why is it so frustrating? Yeah.
Well, there's, you know, that's such a difficult discipline too, you know. I mean, we think now that we mostly downwind, like, oh, that's the top and it's so hard and this and that. And yes, it is, but winging is so technical. And, you know, when you fall or you're trying to do stuff or you're trying to, like, you know, copy what Rafke or Phil does, you know, back wing some shit, and it just smacks you in the face and you end up falling over, foil upside down, pokes a hole through the wing, you know. I mean, like, there's a lot of moving parts there and a lot of things that can kind of pull you around versus where if you fall on a prone board or if you fall on a downwind board, you know exactly what happened. You just kind of kooked it or breached it, or like, it's not a mystery, you know, whereas winging, you know, you're working with this big object and it gets a little complicated to do it all at once.
Yeah, and I think when you're learning too, like, you don't have a good sense of what the right conditions are a lot of times too. You know, when you're learning to wing, you're out there and I don't know, I just remember my journey. It didn't matter what the wind was blowing. So I'd be out in a too small wing, and obviously whatever board I was on, it was like an 85 liter. And the frustration was just so real, right? Because you're pushing yourself to that point of exhaustion. You know, you think you can do it, and like you're just battling the wind. I'm sure we've all done it where you kind of like fall off and then you just start screaming at the wind, like, where's the fucking wind, whatever. You know, it's just so overwhelming, that frustration. And I think it kind of prepares you for what that journey is going to be like with downwinding, right?
Totally. But it's even scarier sometimes. I mean, I know everyone that wings can relate when you're out there and you're on an outer reef or whatever, and you can't get the damn thing started, you know? I mean, especially here in Puerto Rico where you're stuffed. You're going to swim in over a reef or you're going to have to go around a cliff or something. We don't have beaches along the North Shore for days. Like, maybe you get lucky. And so that's what's so interesting to me is like when I was really frustrated and super pissed and I wasn't able to get the thing started because my hand wing was too small or my foil, the leaders or whatever the hell it was, you know, it sucked way worse than when I couldn't get my downwind board started because, you know, I'm on an 8-foot board and I can just paddle in comfortably. Look, if I'm having a temper tantrum and a bad day and I'm just not going to play nice with this setup, I can just swim in easy versus, you know, having the wing in your hand and whatever kind of board you have. It's going to take you forever to get in.
So you threw more F-bombs learning to wing than you did learning to downwind?
I threw more F-bombs in one session on my wing than I ever have downwinding.
Really? Damn.
Yes.
That's funny.
It's bad. And well, you know, pickleball will do that too. We don't have to go off on that. We don't have to get into pickleball, but you know, you'll throw some F-bombs there too.
Well, so you started the downwind journey like last spring, kind of like all of us did, and I kind of feel like you and Dylan were probably the first guys who hopped on the train after obviously Mickey'd been on that train for a minute, for a hot minute, riding that OG gear. But I remember you were riding one of Randy's boards, which Randy's shaped a lot of awesome boards at this point, and then you were waiting on a Kalama, I think, right? And that was kind of your beginning of the journey. And I remember seeing on Instagram, and we were sharing videos and stuff, you guys putting the work in, and it was super inspiring for me sitting by myself still kind of on the West Coast to get out there and get it done. So yeah, like how was that transition, and you know, what was it about downwinding that got you so hooked so quickly?
Yeah, so I did start on Randy's board, but to rewind all the way, we went to, was it Isabella for that winging contest?
Oh, the greatest wing contest of all time.
I did so good that I never even got started. Both, buddy. I just sat out there and flailed the whole time.
That was a good comp for me.
It was, yeah.
It was. So to set the stage here, there's a windsurfing comp that happens every year.
It's called the
Wind Warriors?
Wind Warriors?
Yeah, I've got the shirt.
Yeah, I got the shirt.
I wear it like a badge of honor.
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah, I participated. They're like, how'd you place? I'm like, we're not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it. So they put a foil surfing event onto it, which is awesome, right? So it's our first foil surfing event here in Puerto Rico.
Wing foil.
Wing foil surfing. Yeah, sorry. Be clear about that. It is a wind event. Anyways, so the windsurfers, they're the priority, so they get the good day. So we take sloppy seconds on Sunday, and the wind is blowing. Maybe like there's a 13-mile-an-hour gust that comes through every once in a while. Yeah. I mean, it is glassy. The bumps are like a foot and a half. It's like we should all be drinking beer, and we're all loaded up with our gear.
Well, we were drinking beer.
We were drinking beer, yeah.
That's
exactly.
true.
We should have just been drinking beer. Anyways, so the comp goes on, and honestly, there's some pretty great riding that happens, but Roy and I think my tail fell off, my stabilizer fell off on my first turn because I hadn't put that gear together in forever. And then Roy's, I don't even remember what you were on, but I just remember you like trying to pop up into the distance. Like you were almost almost to survivors, man.
I was so far out.
So then Roy and I, that was my first time really hanging out with Roy, and we just went and drank beer and heckled Dylan the rest of the way until he got beat by a 12-year-old, I believe.
Well, it was light wind. So
we made the wrong gear choices, you know?
Everyone did, yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't take a ton of pride in that second place.
You should.
The picture on the podium is so good. Please put that right here.
Well, who was first?
The kid, right?
No, Rafki.
Oh, well.
Rafki.
Also another.
Yeah, he's got the rights to first place.
It was Rafki, then me, and then Adrian, right? That he's the young kid.
We should have took a picture of
I still like the idea of
the board.
Adrian winning. In my head, that's what happened.
Oh, yeah. No, he didn't beat me. He should have. Let's be honest. So where were you going with that?
Yeah, sorry.
Wait. Let's get back into downwinding because you were asking me a question. We got off on a rabbit trail.
That comp, you saw Mickey on his downwind board, right?
well, no, I just saw him on the beach with his board,
That
and
white Barracuda, was that it?
Yep. And when you haven't seen one of those in person and you look at it for the first time, you're like, you can't even stand on that, And
you can't.
Turns out you can't.
And the funny part about it too was, and I would do it to people too, is that Mickey's cocky ass was like, "Hey, you want to take it for a spin?" I'm like, "Fuck no, I know what this is. Like, this is just bait to make me look even more stupid in front of my friends and family. I'm not gonna stand on that thing." But then I'm like on my phone, I'm like looking up downwind boards. I'm like, I gotta get involved quick. So I saw Mickey there with his downwind setup, and his vibe was so confident, and it was like, yeah, no, this is what I do, It was so simple but so confident. I'm like, well, where do I subscribe? It was just like Brad with the dojo, I'm like, yo, I want to be a part of this too. He's like, yeah, you got to get your shit, put in the time, whatever he said. I can't remember the words, but it was inspiring nonetheless. And then I came back to Dorado, and I told my prone friends, I said, boys, listen, I saw one of these boards. All these guys in Maui are doing this, and I mean guys that are badass, charging huge waves. Like, all these awesome people are getting into this sport. We don't need to do any homework or research. We just need to get involved, okay? There's a reason why they're all doing this and frothing over it, and it doesn't look sexy when you watch a video, and I know what you're about to say, but let's just freaking do it. And guess what I got? A bag of excuses from my tightest homies. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, come on. And so, Andy,
who is that?
Okay,
Name
Who are you throwing under the bus?
I'm
right now?
throwing Andy Herdman so hard under the bus right now. And Andy is one of my best boys, okay? But that dude, pretty much looked at me and he was like, bro, it's never going to work. It's not Maui. This is not Maui. And that lit...
I remember that comment too.
That lit a fire in me, I'm like, I'm like, I really like you, Andy, okay? But you just gave me a lot of fuel, and I'm getting after this shit. Like, Mickey is out here, one-man band, just cruising the north coast of Puerto Rico, by himself, and that's what he's doing. He's perfectly happy, and then people all over the world are starting to do it, and in Maui, it's just blowing up, So I'm like, I don't give a shit who's starting this. Like, I am in. We're going to do this thing. So out of my close friends, that were proning with me, they didn't want to start. I understand. It looked weird. Long board, blah, 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 blah. Randy started with me. We met up. We had a bet. Well, I'm going to bring it up. We had a bet who could do 10
Me
miles.
and you?
10 miles first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And?
I
Who
didn't
did
ever,
it?
I did.
Damn.
10 miles first. I didn't want to bring it up because it's kind of a big deal, but
I feel like you have more free time, right?
yeah,
for sure. And you've got bigger muscles. So I'm gonna.
That doesn't help. It's just for looks. You remember I almost got beat up? Remember when I was, and so now I'm compensating for that. So,
This is not therapy. This is a podcast, okay?
are you serious?
Yeah, we don't want to talk about your problems. And
I told my wife I was going to therapy.
I was like, there's a couch, there's a chair.
there's two guys asking me questions.
This feels like therapy.
Yeah.
I'm writing things down. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Taking notes.
Yeah, take some notes. Don't forget to pay me. I don't remember how much the bet was, but I need cash, okay, in my hands because it was the first 10 miles on foil.
Right.
And I just smoked your ass.
Damn.
I'm kidding. I probably beat you by like a mile or two because it took us like weeks and weeks to get to 10 miles.
Dude, it took me a month.
Yeah.
It took me like 30 days.
It was horrific.
It took me, I don't remember the count, but I counted it. It was like 30 days and 56 sessions on the downwind board. It was pretty tough. Which was a lot less than what it took Mickey. Let's be honest. So I'm.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, it's all about the gear. It's all about
I
the
know,
gear and
I
the
know.
timing,
It's
right?
totally different. It's
Yeah.
not, you can't even like. There is no equation there. But yeah, I vaguely remember the bet. And you of the beating me thing. I'll look back and we'll see what the bet was, but you still owe me money, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
About to owe you more.
Yeah, we'll see about that. The downwind journey, and I only met you from then on. I saw you a couple times out in the surf. You know, I learned how to prone at the same spot you did, and I was a little bit later. I was with my coach Arlen yelling at me, telling me what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Not a surfer, and man, the crowd out there was super sick in Go U when I was learning how to prone. There was a bunch of us.
Yeah.
It was like it was you, it was Andy, it was Randy, and we were all proning. And I was just learning. I was just like a little baby bird, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
all
I
of
remember.
you guys, all of you guys were pumping around. It was super sick. And then, man, nobody's out there anymore. All it is now. I watched a video of this morning.
Yeah.
You guys were out there, and it's so
Yeah.
funny because the waves are glassy. It's beautiful, and it's just like 4 dudes just pumping around on these
Yeah.
downwind boards, like with paddles in their hands. Like,
Yeah.
bum, bum, bum. I was like, just how the scene has changed, and it's crazy that nobody's out there proning anymore. All of you guys, not all of you guys, you transitioned to the downwind board, and then nobody else is prone foiling out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like
What's the deal? I still prone foil out there. I still take out my prone board because I really like it. I get my
Yeah.
downwind fill from, like my sup foil fill from downwinding. So I don't want to take it out and go I want to be on that small board, but you guys catch a lot more waves unless I'm on my.
I was waiting for that.
there it is. There it is.
I tried to get him to push it earlier, but
Yeah, it's interesting now over there because, let me start with this. It's interesting how different people in your crew motivate you in different ways, you know? So we have Gio, and so I always look to Gio as like, he's kind of like my red line kind of guy, right? Like, he's just like, it's like, bro, it's like, he goes every fucking day, right?
like
Yeah.
today.
And so, back to the prone thing at Go U.
Yeah, it wasn't today. Yesterday, he's like, "Oh, I'm doing a run."
That doesn't surprise me.
He like sent out to the chat his location, and I was busy. I was here in the shop. I was doing something, and it just started pouring rain. I canceled lessons 10 minutes before it started raining. This big cloud came from the south, and it like blew offshore, and it was like torrential rain. And then 5 minutes later, I realized I'm like, Gio just started a run out there. And he sent us this video later. It's starting to rain.
Totally.
I'm out here. I'm pumping my way back.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
what he does.
It's just so funny.
It's so
dude. Just
entertaining.
like,
And you got to watch his videos.
No fucks given.
And you watch him start to finish.
It's awesome.
It's good.
I don't know. It's so,
I'm impressed with his ability to shoot videos while downwinding and talk to us all the time.
with his
It's
phone
very
in the water
impressive.
pocket, like all blurry, and worst videos ever. Just a
Yeah.
nose of a board like bobbling up and down, and him going.
The audio is always great.
It's so fucked up that we watch those videos. Like, my wife sees me watching them, and she's like, "Oh shit,"
Do
like.
I need to be worried about this?
Yeah, she is. Like, she gets away. She's like, "I'm going to be gone for the day. You're strange." Like, why are you watching this man, like, pump around in the water? And what is he even saying? This is ridiculous. I'm leaving. I'm like, okay, well, it's about time.
He's like, "There's a bump. There's a bump. I'm getting on this bump. I'm pumping out of this bump."
Here's this bump.
Yeah,
And he's like,
whatever.
this foil turns really well, but he just goes straight the whole time. It's cracking me up. I'm like, Gio, don't use that word.
So he's redlining. You're trying
Yeah,
to.
so Gio is like, I say it's go anytime Gio,
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, back to like sup foiling in the morning, it's funny because he was a total kook for like God knows how long. I don't think he can still prone, but he's excellent at downwinding now, right? And
Yes.
he just put in the time over the course of less than a year. Like, he was at the dojo every single day. So guess what? He's already got a purple or a brown belt. Like, he's already caught up. It's amazing. So now I kind of look at him and I gauge what I'm going to do kind of based on what he's doing. But sometimes, if the wind is looking good and Go You is just mediocre, he's like, no, I'm not going. I'm saving my legs, for later on or whatever. Because who knows what he'll do. He'll strap on the tiniest little foil and it'll be worthless Puerto Rico conditions and he'll go. So he'll have to save his sauce, Yeah. Anyways,
he's gonna be so ruined by Maui this summer. Like, his whole perspective, he's gonna be here and just be sitting on the couch, like, nah, guys, it's fine. I'm not going out today.
So yeah. So I haven't been going as much, not because of my buddy Gio, but just because sometimes I do save, my legs because I don't have like tons of cardio. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm a heavy lifter. But I'm like a sprinter, and then it's like, right? Like, look, I can't run a marathon, okay? But if I can get a minute to catch my breath, I can get back in the action. So,
Well, why are you so fast? How do you explain that?
I'm not fast.
No?
Have you seen those guys in Maui?
No, but I mean, for our Puerto Rico conditions, what is it that you feel?
Have you seen my last 2 runs?
Well, that's a new board. We're not going to talk about that.
You don't have to bring it up.
No, but
you pancaked.
I think he's bringing up a good point, which is, you've progressed super fast in the sport, right? I think you and Dylan both progressed really quickly, and obviously you had a foil background, but different levels of foiling background between the two of you. What was it about, like, your methodology that kind of you think got you to where you are so fast? Because you really did. You learned, and then we went to Hood, and then in Maui, you were doing like Maliko dry runs, right? And that was within 4 months of starting downwinding. So obviously you were doing something right.
I'll be honest. I'm a little bit upset that you were better than me at downwinding.
I know.
Well, because I spent...
I could feel it.
Man, I spent so much time out there learning how to do it and, going through different equipment. Not a ton of equipment, but like trying to do it and going every single day. And I've got so much time on a foil. And I was like, there's no way this beef ball is going to beat me. But yeah, you're annoyingly fast and good on the downwind boards, which is, it's good, and you've got a different stance to you. You've got a different, like, your foil is like pushed to the front of the box. I tried one day, you're like, here, try my new board. I'm like, sweet. And I get on it. And the foil is so far forward, I had to put my toes on the nose of the board to keep the foil down. Like, is your front leg heavier
he just
than
does
your back?
one-legged squats all day, just the front foot.
Yeah.
Because this new board that you got, we're gonna talk about it.
Let's do it.
All right. Because
let's get into specs.
Let's get into specs. Because you got this new KT board. It's a custom, and it's got a little bit more volume in the nose, and it feels like you're stepping up on it. And for any normal person, I think it would be a great board.
Totally.
But for you, it's just not working. Can you talk me through why you feel like it's just not the right board for you? And not that it looks like a great board.
It is.
Could you say that it looks like a good board, or you think it's garbage?
I mean, everything KT.
Guys, I'm going to Maui this summer, okay? I'm not going to talk a lot of shit. No,
dude, I got like 4 people that listen to this podcast. I think we're fine.
And an order for like 20 of those KT boards coming out. So it doesn't behoove him for us to talk shit about
I got
KT.
a bunch of KT boards coming, but I'm seriously curious of why you think it's not working for you, and I think it would work for me. My stance is very different. Would it work for Gio? Who knows? Gio would make it work.
Yeah, like, why are you so weird, I think is his question.
Yeah, why are you so weird?
Look, guys.
What's the deal?
Let's go all the way back to the beginning. You guys were generously complimenting me on my efficiency and speed and whatnot. Well, guess what? I don't have any freaking swing weight in front of me. Hello? Is it uncomfortable to start? Yeah. Okay. It's a little weird. Yeah. But guess what?
It's because you know how to sprint.
And then once I get going, I feel that the way I set up my downwind boards is where the front is really light, and it makes it real comfortable for me to pump out of a hole or whatever the situation is. And so this board that I got, I could tell right when I got on it, it was fast paddling, right? Like I was like, holy shit, when I was paddling out, I was so excited. It was like kid in a candy store, you know? I'm like, you guys have known about this whole time, you know, before I popped up. Because I never even popped it up. I just took it on a 10-miler right out of the gate. That was a great
Obviously.
idea. Great idea, right? Like, oh, I'm not familiar with it. Let's go.
Well, to be fair, right? You were riding the KT Dragonfly 7.4. You've been crushing for a year, right? So you're just sizing up on the same manufacturer's gear. Seems reasonable. I understand the risk, but you're also bold.
So it's like, the design is really good. I think that the design of that board is.
I think by time this podcast come out, those boards will be released.
Well,
anyway.
I'm not saying what kind of board. It's a custom board, so let's just leave it at that.
No, it is a custom board. Yeah.
But they're going to make some production boards that have the same design concept, is what I've been told. I don't work for them. That's what I've been told. So it was interesting because when I was paddling out, I'm like, holy shit, this thing is faster than a 6-legged cheetah. I'm like, pew, like right through the water. I'm like, this is cool. Check this out. Like one paddle, and I'm like, pew. And so that was nice. But then when I went to pop up, it took me some time to get my mind wrapped around it, just because I'm not like, there are people like yourself and like Phil and like there's and like Kane, like you can put them on any kind of equipment and you guys are just comfortable and you pop right up. Like, well, my brain will clam up, okay? My brain will be like, oh wait, this is doing something weird, and then the wheels fall off.
Why is this different?
Yeah, I'm like, why is this different? Wheels fall off, And so it was going straight fast, and then I would pop it up and I could just feel like, additional swing weight in the front. Not bad, not like that red board that you had. I don't have to mention brands, but that red
You
board.
could say
You
red.
can say, you just have to say red. Everybody knows what it is.
That thing, I popped that thing up before. No bueno.
Well, let's come back to it. Let's try it again. I got it in the back.
We can't.
It's
Still
made
said
it-
no one will buy it.
It's made a full circle back to me again.
Yeah. I told you where you need to keep that, in the dumpster. You just put it right in the dumpster. However, let's get back to business. Let me try to explain why I didn't like it. And it's like measuring the tiniest little things, It's like you shimming your tail half a degree, or like little adjustments. The board was really good when I was up, but it cost me a little bit of energy because of that just extra in the nose I felt like. And granted, I went out when it was like 10 or 12 knots or whatever. It was horrific, right?
The first
The first time. But I'm used to that. Like, I don't care. I'll go, and if I can get up, then I can find the energy. But it also can't tax me more than what I'm used to for me to be able to accomplish what I usually do. And so that little bit, so I go out on extremely light wind conditions, and, the energy is just garbage out there. And I get up, and as I'm fishing, for my next source of energy, it's just taxing me on a foil that I'm already used to, and it's my cheater foil. I'm like if I get up on this foil, you're not seeing me again. It doesn't matter what the conditions are. At least that's how I feel about it. That's my relationship.
That you can stay on foil with that foil.
That's my relationship with it,
That's
Do
that.
you want to talk about this very standardized foil that you're riding
No,
right
it's
now?
real fucked up.
It's the most Frankenstein shit I've ever seen. I didn't know you could put a lift mast on
Mickey's
that, you know
already
what I mean?
said, don't do anything that I do. Like, just look at it. It's like a unicorn, zebra, Pegasus thing, but don't get involved. And so, anyways.
I hope I can remember this moment right now, and I'm going to pop it up on the YouTube of your Barracuda board
Oh yeah,
that you stuck. You stuck a, what was that foil?
I put a foil mount on top
sticky
of
foil
the
mount
tracks.
on top of the track to extend the tracks. I don't know.
4 inches.
4 inches forward.
That's right.
And then you locked it. It's just.
Oh,
like-
it was brilliant. That Barracuda felt so froggy. Like, it was like, at that, and the noses on them are so thin that what I'm telling you was not what I wanted to feel on this new custom board that I had, where the nose was a little bit thicker.
So
Perfect.
it's got like it lifts up in the nose a little bit, right? So you felt like your front foot was on a hill? Or?
I felt like if I would have, well, let me start here. If I would have put the mast in the middle of the tracks, money.
Somewhere
okay?
where a normal
Money.
person
where a
puts
normal
it.
person would have it. But the swing weight in the front of the board was not what I'm used to, because right now I'm on a much smaller board and I have it way forward, and so I don't feel anything in the front. Okay, so it just screwed my mind.
You're on a 7.4. You're pretty far forward. You
All
got
the
an
way
8
forward.
foot, and you put it
In
pretty
the
far
middle.
forward.
If I put it in the middle, which I did, kind of, sort of, it felt a lot of swing weight.
Kinda, sorta.
So I moved it up, and then all of a sudden I'm standing, because of this design that's on the deck of these boards, there's an incline at the front of the pad, that's where they stuff a lot of the volume, which is great for popping up. And so I'm standing on that, and that'll tax your energy. Like if you ever had, it felt like a 2 or a 3 degree base plate shim where you prop the board up,
Yeah.
which is fun for surfing in the waves as you're zigzagging. But when you go to try to pump out, just imagine it, it's going to cost you energy, versus a level board. For most people, I couldn't imagine somebody being like, yeah, I shim it up 3 degrees and I pump it out into the sunset. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there does it. But so anyways, then I shimmed the board down 1 degree. I put a PPC shim in there and I dropped it down, and it felt great, right?
You surfed it. It felt great surfing.
No, I downwinded it.
I know, but I beat you by like an hour and a half.
And then I sold the board. And that's how that went.
That's really why he's getting rid of the board right there.
When I shimmed it and it felt good, and here I am gassing out in the middle of the ocean, and I see you miles out that way in the abyss.
Was way off. Yeah.
And we're kind of even, and I'm like, I think I got him. I think I still got him. And then no, you beat me by like however long, 20 minutes or so. It was sad. Then the board was gone.
But we weren't racing. I was just surfing.
Well, that's what we always do.
Unless you're racing. I just like to be the first one surfing.
Guys, I just like to be first. I want to be friends with you for a long time.
Just let me do it.
All right, run me through your downwind gear.
Okay.
Boards, I know, because you had that Barracuda. You
Yeah.
extended the tracks by 4 inches with
Yes, I
this
did.
sticky mount, which I hope I found the picture of it to put it up.
Yes, I did.
And then you got the KT 7.4,
Yep, I got that in Hood River.
right? And then
We all got a KT in Hood River.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty,
Yeah,
it was
we
pretty
all-
hilarious.
I mean, that's-
It was.
And then
mean,
Randy bought one anyways and returned it like 5 days later just so he could have one and match us.
But that's right when it released.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was the release of them. As I was arriving to Hood River, they were shipping my boards to Puerto Rico, and I got, me and Walt, we had a board on order already, and they held it for us over there in Hood River because that's where they ship all their boards out of. And that was awesome. And then we show up to the spot, and there's like, what was it? It was like 5 of us, and all of us got the same board. And so, what was it? Was it on Sunday, or when did we do that downwind that I beat you by 10 hours? What day was that?
Recently? I deleted it from my mind. I'm not sure when it was.
no
Whatever.
record anywhere.
It doesn't matter. Like 3 days ago or something.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the taxi going upwind, and in front of us is this gang of Vespas.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
It's like 7 people sitting on Vespas with their girlfriends, with these helmets, with radios on. And I was looking at them, and I was like, man, I don't get it. Like, why, you hang out with your friends, and then you think it's a good idea. You all buy Vespas, and on the weekend, you're going to go ride your Vespas together and go down the highway. I'm like, I don't get it. And then I look at Roy, and I'm like, fuck, we are the Vespers.
Yeah.
Like, that's us. Like, we're getting in a van with all the same boards, these long, skinny boards, and we're going to go on an adventure downwind together holding hands, and that's just what we do. And we talk about our Vespas, and then we,
And when you try to explain to other people why your Vespa's so cool, they're like, I don't understand why you think your Vespa's so cool.
I don't get why you guys are Vesping together. Is
Yeah.
it Vesping? Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's
So,
Vesping.
I thought that was funny. So yeah, we're in Hood River on all of us have these KT boards, and everybody else does too.
That was really
And they're all
funny.
the same color. It's all the same. It's so funny. So you've been running that board until you got this board that you put in the basura con fuego.
Yeah.
No,
It's sold now.
Yeah.
But
foils.
foils. So Right now, my daily driver is the loved by some and hated by others 755 Armstrong. Isn't that the number? I
Yeah.
get the numbers mixed up.
It's
with
a
the, with the
755.
with the scoop in it, just all that camber, just makes it real weird, but really good. And so I have that with Kane's race tail on a guy this guy makes these custom fuses out of Washington, Jim Stringfellow.
Yep.
That's
Stringy,
it.
yeah.
And so I've got his fuse on the new lift mass because the new lift mass, they're thin and they're fast, and I've tried other mass, and man, I'm just so damn picky that like 1 millimeter and a little bit of drag, maybe it's reality or maybe it's not, but if I think it's there, like I can't deal with it, So this mass is fast and slick, so I liked it, and
You're going backwards. Why don't you start at the beginning and then work your way to this, what
do
you're
you
riding
mean?
right now?
Well, he's wondering, what did you start on? You started on the 1440 from Tacoma, right?
Oh, to start, yes,
Yeah,
1440.
We were all on that.
Yeah,
Let's start with that.
Let's go that way because that makes a lot more sense. If you still have that lift mast and then
Well,
you move
see,
on.
It didn't happen like that though.
This is the kind of
Kinda-ish.
stuff we cover in the training packet before the podcast that you didn't
Yeah.
obviously opt for.
Well, let's start from there. Let's start from the beginning.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, so that 1440 Tacoma,
Yeah.
it's bueno.
Bueno.
That means good. Okay? Take note. It's good, especially for a beginner, because you can get up and you can make it work. It was a little bit of a mind twist for me because I don't know what kind of head gestures are going on
it's
here.
it's our bartender. He's bringing
bartender.
us beer.
Dos, por favor.
Sí, él quiere uno también.
Sí, claro.
That's a zero alcohol one.
Oh, no. Put
Let's
that in the
not
garbage.
Put that in the garbage.
Basura con fuego.
Yeah, so the 1440, easy to pop up,
1440
easy to
easy to pop
control.
It was interesting though, because when I was learning, it was like I was talking to you guys earlier about jiu-jitsu and how when you're a beginner, you burn through so much energy making bonehead mistakes. So I'm on this 1440 and I'm popping up, but I'm trying to go, up and over and do things that the foil is not capable of doing without a tremendous amount of energy, right? And so, anyways, but that's how I got my feet wet, is on that foil, and that happened real fast. And then Mickey told me to move to the 150X,
Yeah, it was right when the 150X came out from Lyft.
and that was so intimidating.
Super cool foil.
And,
Very
and,
intimidating.
and Mickey's over there, he's on my shoulder. He's like, "You can do it," blah blah blah. And then I got this other guy on my shoulder over here. He's like, "You can't do it. You don't have skills for that,"
Who said that?
Oh, that's just Satan.
Satan.
So I remember the day I was like, all right, F it. I'm putting that 150 on. And I paddle out at Kakita Beach and I downwind to Go U. It's like 2 miles. It's nothing.
It's amazing.
And it's the worst.
That was your.
And it's the worst section too, because it's real close to Go U and the cliffs and whatnot. I can't believe we actually enjoy it or did it, because it's all just kind of backwash, weird, bumpy, no energy.
But it's super good practice. I did it once or twice with you guys, and my practice run was paddling out past Caballos and going all the way into Ocean Park. And once you get towards Ocean Park, you've got to work your way into the bay and then all the way in. It's all flat, and it's 4.5, 5 miles or something by the time you get to the end, and it's exhausting, especially when you're not on foil day after day after day. So I know it's not a very good, it's not a great section of our run, but it's a great way to practice.
Yeah,
I think it was super cool. It was like right outside your house. You paddle out, I don't know, not even half a mile. It's got to be way less, right? A quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
And then you try to pop up and you practice and you're drifting your way in, and then the swell pushes you in, and then you're into the surf spot, which you go surfing every single day, and you work your way in, and so it's a very comfortable run, and you know the reef. So I think it was, although it wasn't a very profitable, maybe it wasn't as it wasn't as lit
Wasn't
in the
paying
energy.
you that money.
Yeah, it wasn't.
right.
Yeah,
It was very accessible.
but it was super accessible, and I think that's why you got to the 10 miles before me.
totally. Because that day, after I did it once, I think I did it
easier
again.
for you, Roy.
It was. And you know, my dad has always been my biggest cheerleader in anything I've ever wanted to do, right? So, man, my dad's an all-around badass that lived in Colombia, South America, and had me there. And it's like, he's done so much cool stuff, you know? And so when I told him I'm going to do this downwinding thing, you know, he's always like, go get it, you know, while mom, on the other hand, is like, oh no, don't do that. It sounds dangerous, you know?
Sharks?
Yeah. And so dad, to your point, my dad is like, just, you know, he's hooking me up. Like he's letting me do runs. So that day, maybe I did 2 or 3 runs, you know, and my dad's just shuttling me around, you know, he doesn't have anything else to do. He's retired, having a great time. And so he's shuttling me around. And so that particular day, I remember I got that 150 up after Mickey told me, you know, this is the future, you have to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're the boss, I'm doing it. And then I did. And then it's interesting, as I went down a foil size, and, you know, obviously at the same time, you're getting more reps in, so you're getting smarter and a little better.
Let's be real. Are you really getting smarter, Roy?
All right, let's just say physically better.
Physically smarter?
Yeah. Your body's making the right
Your
decisions.
body's getting smarter.
My mind is not. And so then I started making better decisions on foil, using that foil. But it wasn't the foil. It was just, you know, more reps is all it was.
Well, I think that transition from a big foil down to something, especially if you come from prone surfing or really any foil discipline where you're on smaller foils, like it's so foreign being on these. I'd never ridden a 1440 in my life. Like I learned how to foil on like a lift 170 basically. And so that was just so big, it was hard to understand. As soon as I went down to the 1095, all of a sudden I had so much more control. Even though it was a smaller foil and harder for me to paddle up, I was able to read the bumps better. I could see something and I could put myself there, right? And I could make a turn when I wanted to, opposed to the foil pushing me around. And I think it's interesting. It just goes back to that, getting the right gear for the conditions you're in so you're able to perform. And especially if you have good foil skills, you can probably handle that smaller foil. It's just like, can you get it up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Also Roy's memoir.
Well, yeah.
Of those, I was paddling up I was trying to get up that 1450 high aspect from north, which doesn't have a great low end, but when it's easy enough to paddle up. I'd probably blame it on the board more than the foil.
That's what I would do.
Because when I was up, it's fast. It's pretty fast. And then when I finally moved down to, which was a similar size to the 150, I went to the 980 code, the 980S, and I put that on. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's small. Like
Yep.
I don't know if this is gonna be it or whatever. And it was, I popped it up pretty much right out of the gate, and I started making my way out like 10 miles offshore like I do. And I was right beside you on that first run that I did on that 980, which is like a 150X. It was very similar. And I was just carving and surfing and granted, that day was pretty epic. I don't know if you remember that day.
I do.
It was the day I was surfing beside you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you remember.
How could he forget?
We were holding hands going down the run. It's funny because it's like this downwinding thing is such a community. You know, you have to be talking to all these guys, and we're texting, and we're trying to line things up. You've got to make the timing right. We've got taxis coming, and we're in the van, we're talking, and then we go on a run, and it's just like, ciao. We're all on our own.
Yeah.
And then you don't know who is where and who's doing what, and if somebody's suffering, you're like,
Yeah. Deep down, that's the truth. And deep down, when somebody goes out without you, you know, you just want to see failure, you know?
Right.
You just want to see
You're like,
total.
I hope this sucks.
Yeah.
And then it does suck, and then Gio says, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Now, Gio's always getting out of the water and being like, that was a 10. I'm like, no, that was dog shit. Okay. That was the shittiest run ever. But, you know, I'm so proud and grateful to be part of this team in this journey in Puerto Rico specifically because, you know, you go to Maui or Hood River, and that's just not our reality. I tell people all the time that, you know, if you want to get your master's degree in downwind subfoiling, come to Puerto Rico. And, you know, because we get pumped up. If the buoy says 13 knots and it's coming like side on shore, yes. We're going. It is effed. Okay? It is sad. So and we're like chubbed up on this, right? We're like, we are going, okay? And the taxi.
Line up the taxi.
Yeah, we get the taxi driver going. He drops us off. He's like, you guys are insane. You know, I don't know what's going on out there, but it can't be good. And we go anyways. But man, I am so glad to be part of this early process. Obviously, Mickey's the freaking pioneer here. That's just psycho shit going out by yourself in Puerto Rico. Like after he's already been to Maui and like done the cool shit, and he's coming here and he just keeps doing it. And then like when you do learn in Puerto Rico and you go to Maui, like, you know, I'm doing like 3 runs. The first day we were there, I got out of the airport and I did 3 Kihei runs, and I don't think my heart rate moved at all. Like it was moved from excitement, but it wasn't like here in PR where most of the time, like it's a hustle. Like you're gonna grind a little bit to pull this run off, and you'll have some sections that you can play. But over there, it's like you had to take a breather from playing. It's like your stabilizer muscles were being worked different from going like this, you know, just like back and forth. And so now listen, those guys, look, I'm not taking anything against them because they'll smoke the shit out of it. They'll come over here and show us who's boss.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
how it's going to be. But I'm saying it is really nice to have this kind of a training ground where, you know, 13, 14, 15 knots on the buoy, like, and we're amped up and we're going. And those are our conditions, because then when we do go travel, like, we're like, what is this? Like, this is magic, boys. And they're like, it's like a 6. You know, I'm like
it's a 10.
10. It's a 10.
It's a 10, 10, 10, 10,
Well, it's
10,
the
10,
magic.
10.
It's the magic of Puerto Rico, right? The conditions are always just barely good enough to go out.
Every once in a
downwind.
while.
But always, for downwind, yeah, right? Like, they're just always barely good enough where
man,
you're like,
I
I
don't
think
know.
we can make it go. And obviously, we have some good days. I'm not trying to downplay, but compared to
the other day we
places
went
where
out,
you're seeing 30-plus knots on the regular, I mean, that happens, once a year here?
Yeah.
But, you know, then again, though, you just
But you learn to enjoy the small sections that are, you feel more comfortable and
That's
reliable.
Well,
That's
20
right.
knots feels incredible.
That's right.
Because the other day when we went out, it's like a north swell. It's pushing on shore. I got my heart rate up to 195 to pump my way out 2 miles offshore because I was worried about the swell pushing me into the reef, and I wanted to enjoy the run. And then 4 to 5 miles down, I felt comfortable because I looked in and I saw Roy way the hell in there. And I was like, oh, I'm way out here. I'm fine, you know? And then I started to enjoy myself a little bit, and I was surfing these sections and these weird swells that were rolling north, and it was a technical day, but I felt myself relaxed at one moment, and then a bunch of seaweed came over. And I was like, I'm surfing, I'm humping over, I'm pumping, and I'm dodging seaweed. And it was like, and I have a video of it for a second. I'm like, this is more challenging than I thought. And I was like, and I was enjoying it for within that, whatever, it took me 50 minutes. And for that 10 minutes of that run, I was like, I felt relaxed and I was chill. I was way offshore, but I knew if I was way out there, I'd find some better bumps. And then I relaxed into it. And then you find this flow. And not every day I do a downwinder do I find those like relaxing moments, which is, it's hard to do because either Roy's in front of you and you're stressed out that he's going too fast, or or you're not sure if you're going to get on foil, or you're not sure. Like it's not always, every time I go out, which is awesome because I used to get that feeling from kiting, and I still do it when it's really windy. I get this like, you know, it's like this anxious feeling of like, I want to go, you know, and then what's going to happen and how the run's going to be and how is it going to treat me and how am I going to treat it? And am I going to find my flow? Am I going to go fast? Am I going to go slow? Am I going to come off foil? Am I going to cry? You know?
Yeah. Probably going to cry.
Because for the only time it, like you said, you were like learning how to wing, and you're like, you know, F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb. That's how it was for me to learn how to downwind. And I never did that in any other sport.
Wow.
Because I just, surfing, prone foiling, it didn't, because whatever, you're like in the surf, it doesn't really matter. I didn't know how to surf, so it didn't matter. Wing foiling, it took me a couple days, but eventually I got it. But it wasn't very stressful for me. Kiting, it didn't matter. I was 16, and who cares? Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I was up on a board. Didn't know if I was going left or right. I didn't care. I was excited, right? It wasn't frustrating to do all of that things. But to learn how to downwind was the only time that I really felt like I had to put in a lot of time and force it, and I wasn't getting what I felt like what I was putting into it, I wasn't getting out of it. And either it was the equipment or it was my board, or you could blame whatever you want to, but you just have to go out there and put the time in, and it can be frustrating at times. And I've had some pretty horrible sessions. And you go out there.
They'll sneak up on you.
They'll sneak up on you, but yeah, they're not as bad as when I go out and have a bad wing session. I can still go out and have a pretty bad wing session. I've had some pretty horrible ones, but you go out there and, man, yeah, to learn how to downwind was very frustrating. And I'm glad that we're past that point, and I can look at Gio and he's like, I'm going for a run. I'll be like, yeah, it's not my day.
Yeah.
No, and start to decide what's good and what's not, because then you start to learn, like, where's the swell coming from? How much wind is there? I didn't even know there was a current direction until Gio said there was a current direction. I don't even know if it matters. Is there seaweed or not? You won't know until you get out there. What size foil? What size board? The size of the board, you're never really picking. You have a board, right? You have one board, and that's all you take. There's no decision. But we have to make a decision. You're like, what foil am I going to take? And is it going to ruin your session? Are you going to have fun or not? It's a really interesting sport. And you got up and you got that 150 up and out of the water and started doing runs. And then what did you move on to?
Well, I had a 110X, and that was the foil that I winged, and that was my plan. That was my plan, is to move to the 110, you know. But, you know,
Then you realized it was crazy town.
You know, going back to our conditions, like Andy told me, he was right in a sense, but he's a little bit wrong. He's right, but he's wrong. Our conditions are not Maui, and so you've got to fly a different foil. Like, that's it. Don't
But
come up like.
But the 110 is made in Puerto Rico.
I understand, but made by maybe the first downwind foiler. I don't know. He was doing those runs. You can find him on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, he
doing
did.
the prone.
It's awesome.
Were
Were you there when we were sitting at the
Yeah,
restaurant?
yeah.
It was sick. We were sitting in Isabella. We're eating mofongo and fucking
Just sitting
rice and
outside
beans outside of Hobos, and we're at this oceanside, restaurant. And we look out, and there's a foiler. I'm like, oh, there's a foiler out there at Hobos. Not a lot of foilers in Hobos. That's interesting. And he just
at the first peak, too, not
just-
down in front of WRV, right?
grabs the first wave, pumps out. I'm like, oh, he's pumping for a while.
Be like, oh, he's going to get that wave. And he keeps
And
pumping.
I'm like, oh,
he's going to turn on that one.
He's going to turn on that
still
one.
pumping.
And then it just like keeps going and going and going and then gone. I was like, what? And I was like, that's got to be Nick Leeson. Like prone foil downwind, like from Hobos to Shacks. I don't know. What is that? What's the distance? 2 miles?
It's like two, something like that.
Two something? Like,
That's so badass.
so rad. I was
That's
like,
so badass.
And we weren't downwinding at that point, right?
No.
I don't think so. I was just like, what?
I mean,
I can't even link 3 waves. And this guy's linking 800 on the way.
that's what
right?
that's what I'm saying
Like,
is
shit.
I don't know Nick. A lot of you guys know him, but
No, I
that
don't-
guy's a legend.
I
like
don't know-
that guy. I mean,
don't
can
know
you
him.
imagine prone downwinding?
insane.
Look, Mickey's out there
From
on a
Via
sup
Pesquero,
by
yeah.
himself getting lost in the ocean, but this dude is just prone downwinding in the waves, and nobody's doing it at the time. You can find him on YouTube doing it, and he's
Yeah.
basically telling us, "Hey, this is the future." And sure as shit, he was right. But I do think that the SUP makes the experience so much better. I mean, it's so nice to have that board to sit on for safety, for comfort, to pop it up.
There's no way I'm doing a prone downwinder.
Yeah.
Unless I'm. Yeah. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, on our runs, where would you go? Where would you pop up? Where would you pop up again if you fell? Like, there's just no way.
Yeah. You just better hope you don't fall in like 95% of the places where we are here.
I mean,
You just got to chip up at La Ocho and get out
should
at
do it.
Dorado.
we
That's
should
the run.
we should make another bet.
Oh, I like this.
Who does the first prone downwinder from hobos to shacks?
You know I'm
Kind
going
of
to beat
thing.
you.
Like, we should do
that's
that.
That's a little aggressive. Let's just focus on Dorado.
Why not? No, I mean, I'd love to try that. If Nick is doing it, somebody else has to be able
Nick's
to do it.
been doing it before downwinding existed.
Was a thing.
No,
yeah.
I know for sure, but that seems more feasible. But yeah, if you fall down, you got to paddle all the way to shack. Damn, that's far. All right, never mind.
Forget
I'm
it.
just
Let's not
gonna
do
use
that.
my-
How
yeah.
about we?
Yeah.
There, that's what I'm talking about.
So 110.
So 110. So I had it, and I wish Gio would have been more of an influence with me at the time when I had that 110, because Gio will be like, "Oh, I just learned how to foil. I'm gonna go down to like a 680, right?"
Then it'd be like, oh, this is my new daily driver. This is great.
He'll be like,
Easy.
He'll be like, "I can do this every day," and his heart rate's probably through the roof, and he's it doesn't matter.
With his phone.
But then he gets out and he tells us it was epic. He was surfing the whole time. He's going straight. Barely. He's about to throw up. Anyways, so I had that 110, and I'm like, yep, this is where I'm going, but I got to get some stripes on my belt before I can get there. I'm not at the level yet. I might have been short selling myself. I don't know. I'm sure there was days I could have taken it out. Not really sure. But before I could get on that, I had a freshie in my garage, and I was so comfortable with it on the wing. I'm like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. Mickey, introduces me to the Armstrong 755, and I go out to his.
The king of bad influences.
Yeah.
Mickey.
And so, unfortunately for me, go ahead.
He did?
Yeah.
He had one first
Yeah.
Yeah, he ordered it first.
from me?
No. We like
Oh,
you,
yeah.
but we.
Yes.
No, he
maybe,
did get
maybe.
he did get it from
Confirm.
me.
Confirm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do 50% of our purchases with you directly.
Yeah.
You understand?
And then when you give up on them, you fucking shove them back in my shop.
I ask you to sell them, because you're a good friend.
It's a bad deal. This is
It
all
really
a bad
is.
deal. I
It's
feel I'm
really
like,
bad.
I sold something, and then they're like, hey, I don't like this. You're selling it for me. I'm like, this was a bad deal. This was a really bad deal. So he
So-
got the 755.
Yep.
But you're like, I'm not buying a fuse or a mast, just the front
Look,
wing.
look.
Somebody make me some gear for this.
So I popped up on that thing, and I didn't know that I was capable of doing that. And when I got it on foil, I felt like I could control the glide even in very low energy, which I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I probably could have done it on the 110 too. Not as good, but
Have you gone back to the 110? Have you tried it?
No,
You don't
because
have one.
no. When I
It's
get
back.
some,
You know what? Your 110 is on my wall.
that's mine.
God damn it.
You got a really good deal on that.
Again, back in the shop.
Yeah, I think you have my 110 also.
No, but I would like to. So
Well, and the 110
It's
was
for
the
sale.
lift foil that
I'll
was
give you a deal.
there was a 13 aspect ratio, Like
Yeah.
it was 13 aspect ratio, which is what all of the foils we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like all the code stuff we're writing, the Armstrong. I think that aspect ratio really matters. Whereas, the 150, it is a little more surfy, but I think obviously in these conditions works amazing. I mean, you were crushing in Maui with it too.
yeah, well, I should have rode that 110. I should have rode that 110 in Maui. That's
Yeah,
for
you should've.
damn sure.
You were on the 150 the whole time in Maui?
Yeah.
You're
I-
funny because you're almost like the opposite of Mickey. You find a setup and you're like, it's a little bit comfortable. That's it.
Yeah.
And you stick with it. And you don't change anything. You put where it is on your mast,
Yeah.
what weight the screws are.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's it.
And you're like,
I did it.
and then once, yeah, because you were saying, it's like,
wasn't sure.
once you get comfortable with something, let's change it all.
Let's change it all
But you
up.
don't do that often, honestly. With the
don't.
downwinding, you haven't.
That's right. Well, I
It's-
make slight
it's been a-
adjustments. I try to.
It's been a very short history, right? So
It
it's
really
hard to
has.
it's hard to say.
Over the course of the year, 1 year,
Exactly.
I've probably spent, I don't know, $50,000
On foils and downward.
shit. My wife's like, "What are you
No
doing?"
way.
And I'm like,
No
"You
way.
don't
That's
understand."
The
not true.
resale value, babe, it's fine.
I'm like, "I can sell it like this," and you post it on Marketplace. It's flooded with shit like that. They're like, "No, thank you."
Yeah, I miss the days when you could actually sell used gear. Right now, you put stuff up and it's like,
No.
I'll give you $100 for
wings,
it. Sound good?
man, used wings.
They're like,
You got to give them away.
They ruin the closeout sale wing market. It just doesn't exist. And then so you got that 155, which is hilarious. 755. What am I? It's because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like
lots
lift.
of
I've got
numbers.
lift numbers in my head. I did like a
lots.
code review today. I've got
Got
all
numbers.
these numbers in my head. So you got the 755, and you had that lift mast. So you were trying to.
Oh, you have no idea. I have the 755, but not only is my fuse one of Jim Stringfellow's fuses, but I didn't want the 60 and I didn't want the 70. I wanted the 65 centimeter, and that's how it is. Okay, And
65
so-
centimeter what?
fuse.
fuselage.
But you got that from me used.
No.
You bought another one?
Yes.
Oh, damn. Okay, I didn't know that.
Look, man.
Good.
I'm a tweaker.
What was mine?
60.
Oh, too short.
And so if you put up like a 60 centimeter Armstrong setup next to, like, let's say your code with the medium fuse or Mike's Lab, or like most medium fuse standards of today, the Armstrongs are shorter.
Yeah.
Which you feel them. You ride around, go tow an Armstrong 60 and you're going to feel it,
Yeah.
like frog gear. You know what I mean? And so I already knew that. I already had tons of Armstrong gear before, which I've sold. And so I wanted that 65 centimeter fuse. And I also didn't want their long titanium fuse because it does flex. And, I don't know that matters. It might not matter. I don't really know.
It
but
all
then,
matters.
thank you. But then again,
That's why you spend the money. Your wife says it's okay.
I
But
want to make
it's
for
not
sure.
like it's more money or something. It's not like you were trying to save money. Let's be honest. You're trying
no,
to
he's
figure
trying to
out.
spend more money to find that
Yeah,
1%
exactly.
better that we're all chasing.
No.
We just need one brand to make something where everything is dialed. You know what I mean? Could you imagine? Mm-hmm. Don't
We're
make
getting
it.
there. We're
don't,
getting there.
I
Don't
feel
make
like
it weird.
I feel like something's coming.
Something is coming. I've been told. Little bird told me something is coming.
So, little bird, let you try something. No, I'm
They're
kidding.
gonna mess it up
God,
somehow.
Eating those words is going to be so hard for you.
Oh,
to
it
know.
is.
Like,
It is. It is.
That's gonna be tough. We're not even gonna mention it. This is gonna be like a special episode.
It's gonna be
No.
expensive. That's for sure.
No.
I think it
So
won't.
you-
That's the best part.
Yeah. So you ordered a custom fuse
Yep.
from
60
Jim Stringfellow,
65 centimeters.
and he made it longer.
Uh huh.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't know that. I
And
thought
it-
you were
and-
still on
and-
the same one that you got from me,
No,
but
and
that one's in the garbage, or what? What is it? Where is it?
it's close to the garbage can.
No.
But that fuse does feel a whole lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like, we're getting closer in foiling to having like with bicycles, like for example, you have a standard size head tube, right? And it's like, oh, if you're 20 inch, that's like medium. If you're 21 inch, that's long. 19 is super short, right? That's how it was back in the BMX days. And I'm sure you guys can relate with your sports and whatnot. We're getting close. We're getting close, I mean, the overall length of the foil, I think we're going to get close to where this is kind of sort of a standard. And I think that 65 fuse that I put on with the Armstrong foils is money for them. They're not going to listen to me.
So
They
Army,
don't care about
yeah,
that.
Exactly.
They don't
Looking
give
forward to
two.
seeing that 65.
I think 65, 68.
But then again, how do you measure it? So it doesn't really matter. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is when we load up
Whatever
our
that-
foils,
yeah.
when we load up our foils in the back of the shuttle and they're all like nose down like this, you can see how the tails line up. And they're all overall measurements. I'm going to be wrong on this, but I think they're like 28, 29 inches from the front to the back of the tail. I could be a little off, but I'm pretty sure like that's kind of sort of the range. So that's the fuse that I have right now, and I really like it with the Downwind foils, but those foils are funny. They require, I shouldn't say they require, if you want to be efficient using them and not burn through energy, the pump that they require is very specific. It's like To me, it kind of reminds me of a big pull and then like no weight on your front foot and let it ease down. And if you get it just right, you're going to use so much less energy with that foil design. With all of that camber in the wing, I use so much less energy when I check my heart rate. But if I go into a panic pump mode or do something weird and I get out of that perfect pump, it's going to gash you out and you just end up just burying the mast. You know, you can't just hammer away at it like you can on a Lift 150X or something like that. It requires you to really get that cadence right. So I like it because it's really taught me to focus on that, but it does add a little bit of stress and a little bit more focus, not because it's bad, it's just because that's what the thing demands. But when I use it right, I really enjoy it.
Nice. Thanks for the recap.
Psh.
So that's the rig. That's the rig for Maui. I know you're talking about doing some races this summer, maybe. So what's up with that? And what are you riding? What are you doing?
I'll tell you what, I'm not coming in last place. That's for sure.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Well,
Ricky Bobby.
that's right.
So all of you guys are doing that race?
Yeah.
That it's the M2M?
Yeah, we're doing Maui to Molokai for sure. And then
But the other one, you require like a boat,
yeah,
right?
For the M2O.
We're
Yeah.
working on
Yeah.
that. We're working on that.
Yeah. But you need
we'll
a
see.
boat per person?
That's what they say.
That's wild.
That's what Mickey told me. I don't know if he's trying to discourage me or not, you know, because I was going to be like, hey, screw you guys. I'll see you on the island and just take off, you know. Come and get me.
They give you like a beacon or something. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Nice. That'll be a
we'll
lot
see.
of fun.
Or at least a bright colored T-shirt.
Yeah, someone will find you. That's for sure.
Are you guys doing Patalamua also? Are they still running that?
Yeah, they are. I'm going to try to do that. I'm not sure if I signed up for that or not. I'm not that organized. Who knows?
Yeah.
So you're in. This is your first race season in Maui. Is this the plan? Is this obviously the race scene's growing. It was really cool watching it this last year as the sport's growing. I think we're all getting super engaged in it. So you see that as a big piece of what you're going to do going forward is chasing some of these races?
Why are you shaking your head? What's up?
I don't want
Why
to
no?
race.
You don't
I
wanna
wanna-
race?
No,
You
I
do want to
don't.
race.
I don't.
You do?
No, I want to be faster than you. I just don't want to race.
Oh, what does that mean?
No, when I did that race in Hood, it was cool. It was fun. And then I watched the recap and everyone's just flat water starting and pumping around and pumping to the finish. And, I try to avoid that kind of a workout, you know? I want to, I don't know. It just doesn't.
Says the guy who maxes out at like 195
Yeah.
every time he goes out on his foil.
That's why I don't want to do that, you know?
Yeah.
That's for fun. Imagine if I was trying to do it for a race. I'd kill myself or
It's the
something.
same shit. What if you just got out there and approached it with the same mindset? I don't want to compete either. I just want to win. That's it.
If you could just give me the trophy now,
Yeah.
I'll leave. It's fine.
I'm going to tell everybody before I start, like, you can forfeit now. It's okay, you know? And we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I think Roy just sees it as an amazing platform for shit talking.
That's exactly
on a really
right.
large scale.
That's
at
exactly
least
right.
what I saw.
Well, I told Jack, you know, Jack from town, everybody knows Jack. I told him before the Hood River race last year, I was like, bro, I'm going to eat your lunch, little kid, you know? Like, I'm talking
I'm taking your fucking lunch money.
I don't know. I know exactly who he is. He's a badass, you know, like on the foil and whatnot, but he's still pretty young, you know? So I felt like it was an opportunity to talk a lot of shit and maybe rattle him.
He got 7th.
Yeah.
What did you get?
I don't know, 50 something. It was so sad. Last minute.
I was there with you. I was pumping with you for like,
Oh my god.
Last
for
minute.
like half an hour. It was
Last
hilarious,
minute, I
but-
took my 150 off, which everybody was using similar size foil, and I put on this giant Takuma, and which was the biggest mistake ever. You couldn't move
A lot of
forward.
people did that.
You were just stuck, and
Well, there was nothing forward to move to.
So listen, just for the record, I'm taking Jack out this year. He's going down. He's toast. I should have had him in Hood River. Beat me by a little bit, like an hour.
You're like close.
But this year, I'm not playing games.
I don't know though. You might be bad luck for these competitions because if you look at the track record, it's like Wind Warriors, no wind. The gorge race, no wind.
No win.
So we'll see what happens in Maui.
I love to compete. What can I say?
It's just all fun and games. Honestly.
It is. It's shenanigans.
No,
is
the
what it
energy
is.
around the races is really is super cool. I mean, I think it'd be really fun to do some, and hopefully there'll be a lot more, right? Because I mean, we saw how quickly the spots filled up this year in some of these races, so there's going to need to be more of them and more tiers and stuff, so people can be engaged. So,
Well, I'll see you guys in Maui. I'm coming. We're all going to be there. We're going to...
dude, I'll drive the boat.
We're going to see how slow we can go. You'll drive the boat.
Yeah.
Anything you want to leave people with? Anything that you feel is...
Foil magic. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That was...
Well, after that, I'm speechless.
We can just hit it again. That could be your out.
No. You'll crush my mind. No, I mean, I don't. I mean,
If you want a softball, some of the viewers sent in some questions, and one of them was wondering what your current hair care routine is.
God, it's so good. I can't even talk about it.
It's
Yeah.
so complex.
It really is. So it's a whole thing. I mean, obviously, you see it.
Yeah.
We were supposed to make a list of extravagant questions to ask you, and
Yeah.
we totally
Didn't do that.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you were,
I would guess his words of wisdom are, go talk to Brad
Yeah.
and get some pythons.
Get in the dojo.
Get in the dojo.
Whatever your dojo is, get in the dojo. It's going to be worth it. It better be hard, though. If it's easy, that's not a dojo. Like, come on now. I'm not going to say, but if it's too easy.
is that the button you were looking for?
button.
Was that it? I don't know. You're just pointing at me.
That was the button.
I got to get more buttons.
That's the only one we need because
Yeah,
that's such a
honestly.
controversial issue, but it's a great product. I want one to Mickey Mouse around, but I don't think I'm going to downwind with it. Who cares?
Disclaimer.
I'm so grateful to have moved through foiling and a handful of disciplines and be part of downwinding for the community, for the traveling, for the everyday experiences, even if they're bad, like they're still great. Like it's so awesome. And it's such hard work sometimes. And then other times it's not work at all and it's all play. And the whole package is just something that I can't believe is real. Like I just can't believe it when I'm out there and I have some great runs or even some hard runs. Like I almost get teary-eyed. I'm like, this should not be legal. I can't believe I got to this point, and I'm grateful for it. So the only thing I have to say to people that haven't started downwinding, I don't know, it doesn't really matter where you're going to start. As long as there's some wind, you can figure out what type of gear to use to capitalize on those conditions and just start. Don't come up with excuses. Just get in the water and get started every single day. And before you know it, you're going to have it down and you're going to be just as grateful as I am, as you guys are, as everybody who does this discipline is. It's well worth the time.
Preach.
That was pretty good. We're going to exit.